I would like to make this video on why the United States needs to abolish the cruel, barbaric, and outdated punishment known as the death penalty. First of all, I would like to bring up the Constitution. The death penalty violates the 8th Amendment. Now, I know that when the 8th Amendment was written, that they were executing people. However, I would like to ask a question. The 8th Amendment says that there should not be cruel and unusual punishments. That means that they cared about not being savage and horrible to criminals. Now let me ask you a question. What is more cruel and unusual than telling someone that their punishment is to die? Oftentimes, the people did many things that were hypocritical to the spirit of the Constitution. For example, slavery, but we still made an amendment to abolish it. Nevertheless, that an interpretation of an amendment can change with time. The cultural attitudes of our time can lead to the conclusion that killing someone as a punishment for their crime is cruel and unusual. I would also like to bring up the second fact. Even if you believe that criminals who have committed serious crimes deserve to be executed, that you run the risk of accidentally executing an innocent person. In fact, many innocent people are convicted. When a person is in prison and they have been wrongfully convicted of a crime they did not commit, they can be exonerated. When you take a person's life, that this action cannot be undone. Some chiefs of law enforcement did a poll on what their professional opinion is on what it is that interferes with law enforcement. 20% said it was lack of law enforcement resources, 20% agreed it was drug and alcohol abuse, 14% believed it was family problems and child abuse, 12% said lack of programs for the mentally ill, 7% said crowded courts, 6% said ineffective prosecution, 5% said too many guns, 3% said gangs, and 2% said insufficient use of the death penalty. I would also like to state that it's wrong to allow the government to have the power to kill another human being. Perhaps that the people who have crimes committed against them want retribution. However, it is our job not to relish in the pain of our citizens when they commit crimes, but rather to fix them and make it towards that they can become functioning members of society. People often have a lot of reasons that cause them to become the type of people who they are. What we should understand is that criminals are human beings as well. A person who commits horrific crimes against other people who do not understand that what they did is something they should not do, have something fundamentally broken within them. I would like to state the things that create criminals. There are genetic theories, one of which is extremely flawed and has been discredited by the scientific community. The males commit more crimes than females, and that is because they have a genetic makeup which makes them commit crime. I would like to state, however, there are less women in historical records, less women in government, less women in stories and fiction. So is the real thing that males are designed to do crime within, or is the real thing that females have less representation in many aspects of our society? Perhaps that even though crime and being a member of the government are two different things, one being good and one being bad, perhaps the same thing that causes there to be a lack of females in one field causes there to be a lack of females in the other. Anyways, there are things about brain chemistry. What I would like to state is that if you commit horrific crimes such as murder and rape, there is something wrong with you. It is said that problems with the amygdala, hippocampus, and frontal cortex, which are parts of your brain responsible for your emotions, your memory, and your self-control, can cause criminal behavior. Hormones such as testosterone causes aggression. Disorders in serotonin, which regulates mood, can cause you to have behavioral problems, and supplements such as omega-3 can lower aggression. I would like to state that there is things mentioning twins, saying that twins are more likely to share criminal tendencies. However, this doesn't mean that there is a genetic link to crime, due to the fact that if twins are separated from birth, that the act of being separated from their family could have muddied the results and contributed to them being a criminal. And if two twins lived together, it could have been their environment rather than their genetics that made them what they are. Regardless, that it is, there are very specific factors that lead to crime. String theory states that people become criminals because they live terrible lives and learn that criminal behaviors get them what they want. Control theory is basically, it's about like the rich and the poor, and how the poor commit crime, the oppressed commit crime to fight against their oppressors, which can be the case, but that was created by Karl Marx. And oftentimes, people who commit crimes have something wrong with them. And conditioning. If crime benefits someone, and they get away with it, it conditions them to commit more crimes. Some major factors that contribute to crime are family issues or violent families. It does not guarantee crime, but it increases the chance of it extremely. Mental illness. Although mentally ill people are overrepresented as violence, an unproportionate amount of prisoners are mentally ill. Untreated mental illness can cause crime. Socioeconomic. Being poor and having a bad education. Some people can change their social status, but other people are in such bad situations that they cannot. I would like to make the argument that an eye for an eye form of justice is extremely flawed. We do not rape rapists. We should not murder murderers. Murderers should only be killed in self-defense, regardless for the need of the masses to commit vengeance against their enemies. Criminals in the US often come back out of prison. This is because the reform system is highly flawed. You cannot be reformed in a prison where there is not basic health care, the guards are not trained, and there are just military and police officers. There are military members and police members who are the only people in charge of the prison, and there's gangs, diseases, torture, and prison rape. An example of a good criminal system is the one in Norway. There are no bars on the window. It looks as normal as possible. There are rooms and there are kitchens where the prisoners are told to cook their own food. According to the people running the prison, if you treat people like animals, they will continue to act the way that criminals do. And that the true punishment of prison should be losing one's freedom, not inflicting barbaric pain on the criminals as much as possible. Maximum sentences are 21 years, but to prevent criminals from committing crimes when they come out, sentences can be extended every 5 years if a criminal is not becoming rehabilitated, thus preventing a criminal who does not change from going back into society. Norway has one of the lowest crime rates in the world, and the lowest prisoner return rate in the world as well. Prisoners who go to prison do not commit their crimes again. In the US, prisons are crowded due to non-violent drug offenses and overtly long sentences. Crowding makes it harder to reform, but we cannot lower the sentences of criminals that have not changed, who have become worse from staying in a horrible prison. Thus, we must make sure to improve the conditions of prisons so we can continue to get rid of the prisoners who are overcrowding our prisons. Prisons should have several goals, including retribution, which means paying someone back via a punishment for what they did wrong, incapacitation, which means preventing them from committing more crime by taking away their ability to do so, deterrence, creating a consequence so that a criminal is too afraid to commit a crime, restoration, which means fixing the damage that a criminal has done, and rehabilitation, which means fixing a criminal so that they can become a functioning member of society. Prisoners should be able to adjust to life once they get out, being able to get a job and help, and they should have help adjusting to life outside. If a criminal cannot return back to normal life and have a job, they are more likely to return back to crime. And now, for the actual process of reforming a criminal. Prisoners must be given cognitive behavioral therapy to reduce irrational ideas that led to them committing crimes, and learning to replace these with more healthy ideas. Here they can learn skills in social situations and learn how to handle anger. Focusing on inflicting pain on criminals does not fix them, it further entrenches them in their criminal behavior. Criminals must be made to understand the harm they cause to people. It must be in a way that the criminals do not feel is fake or not genuine. In conclusion, that the death penalty is an outdated and, to be honest, scary system of punishment. From the point of view of many, that killing a person is permanently ending their consciousness, damaging a person until their brain shuts off and they are no longer alive. And this is no longer a humane or fitting form of punishment in our new and civilized society. And as we move on in democracy, we should reconsider what we do with our criminals. And that is why we need to abolish the death penalty in as many states as humanly possible in the United States and as many countries as possible in the modern world. This was Brendan's Dystopia. Peace out.